At the tail end of 2020, a snippet that would change rap for the foreseeable future would be previewed, and that snippet was for Miss the Rage. 4 days later, an album that would push this sound even further would be released, and that album was Whole Lotta Red. As the Miss the Rage snippet and Whole Lotta Red dominated the internet, a new style of beats would begin to take over the underground rap scene. Finally, after 5 long months, Miss the Rage would be released on May 7th of 2021. Because of the song's title, these new beats dominating the underground would be labeled Rage Beats. But were these beats started by Trippie Redd and Playboi Carti, or is there more to it? Well, to really understand who started Rage Beats, we have to go back to the beginning. A lot of people have been debating who started this whole sound and whether or not Trippie and Carti were taking credit for something they didn't start, so join me as I look into the history of Rage Beats. When looking into rage beats, it can get a little murky as separating genres and beat styles can be quite difficult. However, I would classify rage beats as beats with a specific type of synth that I'll discuss more later, but one that is very thick and atmospheric, accompanied with heavy 808s. Eventually, Trippie Redd was accused of biting artists like SoFaygo, so he posted a video where he says that he's been doing rage, claiming that the sound came from no one but him.
The rage sound that I'm doing, it came from no one else. Y'all want to see where it came from? Go look up Trippie Redd, Q's and P's. Go look up Trippie Redd, Young Wild Boys. Go look up anything I ever did produced by Pierre.
Well, I don't think he started the sound. I think the songs he mentioned have some importance to the evolution of rage beats. Both of these songs were produced by Pierre Bourne, whose 808s and drum patterns undoubtedly have had some sort of influence on the current rage beat style we hear today.
I stay on my Q's and P's. There's no us, no ease.
The first rage song I can find is Hello Kitty by Sunny 2.0 and Trippie Redd from May 13th of 2020. Even earlier than that, on March 29th of 2020, Sunny and Trippie had a song called Star Power that may not quite have been a rage beat, but it was pretty close. As I looked back, one of the earliest rage sounding beats I could find was Yale by Ken Carson, which was released on August 14th of 2020. While it isn't quite a rage beat, it does demonstrate a lot of the qualities modern rage beats today have when it comes to the experimental production. However, most people look to SoFaygo's Off the Map for inspiring Miss the Rage, and the modern rage sound as we know it. Off the Map was released on October 25th of 2020. It featured a beautiful synth that filled your ears as the lead melody, with fantastic vocals and bouncy 808s accompanying it. A lot of people credit this song as the founder of the rage sound.
Where he originally got it from is technically SoFaygo with Off the Map.
At some point in 2020, Cymatics released a sample pack that included the legendary Miss the Rage loop. It was called the Odyssey EDM Sample Pack. It was inspired by artists like Skrillex, Zedd, and Diplo. This pack would go on to inspire the majority of the loops used in rage beats today, so interestingly enough, rage beats have their roots in EDM. 2 months after Off the Map, Miss the Rage would be previewed and Whole Lotta Red would be released. The snippet and the album were the main inspirations for the next year of beats to come. While the majority of Whole Lotta Red wasn't necessarily rage beats, it did inspire a lot of the aggressive aspect that a lot of these newer rage beats include. Throughout all of 2021, countless amounts of lovely rage songs were released. Everyone was hopping on rage beats. Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty, Snot, Ty Fontaine, Ken Carson, Can, Yeat, Summers, Autumn, Midwest, Eric DOA, Made in Tokyo, and even Lil Pump. Uno the Activist, another SoundCloud legend, was one of the first artists to hop on this wave when he included his song Taco Bell on his album Unoverse, which was released on January 15th of 2021.
Chills.
However, I've seen a lot of people say that Uno started the rage wave, which is simply not true, seeing as how Taco Bell was his first rage song. Another artist at the forefront of the rage sound was Ken Carson. Ken Carson helped produce the song Beano from Whole Lotta Red and was one of the first artists to hop on the rage wave in 2021. For the first 8 months of 2021, the rage sound was popular, but it wasn't nearly as mainstream as it would become after Trippie Redd released his album Trip at Night on August 20th. Featuring artists as large as Drake, XXXTentacion, and Juice WRLD, this album would bring major attention to this sound. And after this, the rest is history. But sometimes when it comes to rage beats, it seems like the spotlight can get stolen from the producers. For example, when people credit Playboi Carti for starting this whole new sound, when in reality, his producers were doing the bulk of the work. But that's a topic for a different video.
Wake up, filthy.
Filthy, aside from having one of the dopest producer tags out there, was one of the pioneers of the rage sound, along with his collective working on Dying. Other producers like Starboy Rob, Dinox, Nadat, Lil 88, and many more have helped further the sound and make some amazing beats. However, when I was looking into the producer credits for many of the popular rage songs, I started to see a pattern. There were 5 producers that I kept seeing credited on a lot of the popular rage songs, and those producers are Starboy, Out of Town, Gabe, Loso, and Art Dealer. And not to confuse Starboy with Starboy Rob, those are 2 different people. And it just so happens that those producers would be a part of the same collective called Hyperpop. Ironically enough though, they do not actually make Hyperpop, for the most part. But just looking at their collective's Instagram, you can see that they have some very impressive placements. But as I looked through all 5 of their catalogs, I noticed something sort of crazy. You may have been wondering why I listed important songs for the development of the rage beat sound in chronological order, and this is why. The two Trippie Redd and Sunny 2.0 songs that I mentioned at the beginning of the video that were the first rage songs I could find were produced by these producers. Yale by Ken Carson, along with a huge chunk of Ken Carson's catalog, was produced by these producers. Almost half of Whole Lotta Red was produced by these producers. Miss the Rage was produced by Loso, a member of the collective. Taco Bell, another one of the early rage songs by Uno the Activist, was produced by these producers. Many more of the rage beats that the artists I mentioned previously hopped on were produced by these producers. This collective would also eventually produce about a third of Trip at Night. All of these songs and projects were crucial in developing the rage beat style as we know today. But one's missing, Off the Map. Who produced Off the Map, you may be wondering? Well, Off the Map was produced by Trenton Kyle, so he isn't actually affiliated with the hyperpop collective, so to be fair to him, he is an innovator of the sound. But guess who he follows and is probably familiar with? Art Dealer, Gabe, Starboy, and Out of Town. It is very likely that Trenton Kyle saw what these producers were doing and drew some sort of inspiration from them, although he did make an amazing beat, and this is no attempt to discredit his work. So basically what I'm saying is that this collective is responsible for almost every single large influential song and or album that has inspired the rage sound that we know and love today. All I'm saying is from what I've seen, this collective has been very influential behind the scenes. The majority of these artists have been forwarding the sound of rap over the past handful of years, collaborating with artists like Lil Uzi Vert, Trippie Redd, Playboi Carti, Young Thug, Gunna, Future, and many more. Not only have they helped advance hip-hop, but some members are fairly active in producing songs for the hyperpop and emo rap communities. For example, Loso has produced a handful of songs for Blade, and Gabe has worked many times with artists like Lil Peep and Lil Tracy. I'm not saying this group is solely responsible for rage beats, but I think they are a major influence when it comes to both rage beats and even modern rap as we know it. Obviously, there are tons of other producers who have advanced the style over the years. I just think it's very interesting that there has been a group that has consistently worked on so many influential projects behind the scenes with little to no mainstream attention whatsoever. I also think rage beats have a difficult time being defined in part by their odd origin and name. People sometimes seem to confuse the word rage with actual rage and energy, when in reality the name just stems from the song. I think because of its EDM based roots and its aggressive beat style that comes from Whole Lotta Red type beats, a name like Hypertrap or something would be more fitting, but that's just my opinion. If you're at all interested in the constant discord over its origins and the people that constantly accuse Trippie of biting, consider checking out the video card on the top right of the screen. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. This has been Matty Balls, and I'll see you guys next time.